My twin brother Paul and I always got into trouble, but we were good. We didn't do nothing to anybody till we left. Then we hurt a lot of people. Me, more so than Paul, because he didn't make it through. The march I was on, the bonus army, it's less a bonus and more an acknowledgement of what I've had to suffer. Do you know any happy stories? Hopeful ones? For a moment there, just a moment, I felt my family. They were good to me, Ma and Pa, and to Paul, and to my sister Jessie. Some days I wish I could find Jessie again and have her help me. She always liked Paul best. Know any good jokes? I'm not so good at telling them anymore. That can't be true. That sounds like a Navy tale. Authority? The law? Well, I had a thought once, in the trenches. You and I, all of us, have the right to the pursuit of happiness. Can't say I've held the Declaration myself, but does it say anything about having a right to achieve happiness? So anyway, tell me a funny story? You seem like you know a few good ones. Life ain't like that, in my experience. But I guess my experience ain't normal. Freedom is getting paid what you deserve, and getting enough to get by. Freedom is the ability to be free of pain. Know any good jokes? I'm not so good at telling them anymore. Wish I could tell that one to my sister. Imprisonment? The more days I check off, the more I'm convinced that birth is an imprisonment. I must eat, so I must have money. I must have money, so I must work. It's an inevitable prison. So anyway, tell me a funny story? You seem like you know a few good ones. Yeah, Paul would have liked that one. Travel. Well, this walk feels like a little bit of freedom now and again. The flowers along the road make for fine company. Here's the sun. I've got to go. I'm headed up the road this way. Will our paths cross? Days come and go and the terrors return. They'll never be able to pay back what they owe me, but I'll always keep at them. What about you? Is there something somebody owes you?
I won't be The women are oblivious to your approach. Their eyes are shut. Their touch, where they hold hands, is gentle. They speak in low tones. One stifles a burst of laughter, but it brings a smile to their faces. "Sorry," says the one who laughed. "Don't be," another assures her. "And we give thanks for those who have left us, who we wanted gone, for the skills to thrive without them, and for the companions who make the effort joyful." The voice of the youngest wavers. The woman to her left squeezes her hand. This is not a scene to intrude upon. A few wanderers like you are looking for a place to camp. "We heard there's a Leatherman cave nearby," they tell you. They describe a locally famous vagrant who hiked this area for almost 30 years. He's dead now, but his caves are the best place to camp at any town. You and the other wanderers find the cave easily, because someone's lit a fire there. As you approach, you see a silhouette bend over the flames with an odd creaking sound, like a door swinging in the wind. His coat is crudely stitched from leather plates that squeak against each other. "The Leatherman," one of the others whispers. "A ghost." The Leatherman must have heard, but he just stares. His face is corpse still. "He's eating," you say, and point out his can of beans. "Je ne suis pas un fantôme," the Leatherman says, and adds, "Idiot." "Oh," bursts your companion. "Canadien?" Soon he and the Leatherman are deep in conversation, and your group has a safe place to rest. Muddling through the dark, you stumble into the path of the white deer. Its beauty strikes you at once. It is something otherworldly, beyond borders, a moon swimming in the void. Human shouts not far away break the spell. The deer's ears prick up. This thing is being hunted. You know a way out of here. As the hunter's cries get louder, you approach the deer carefully, palms outstretched. As you grow close, your features become clearer in the light of the deer's aura. It bolts into the path of an oncoming train.
First, Ma and Pa wanted me and Paul on the front lines. They wanted someone to be proud of, and I did as they asked. Then the government wanted me to take an IOU, and I did. When there were no more jobs, I, along with thousands of others like me, went and asked Hoover to pay up. General MacArthur was so scared of us, he brought in goddamn tanks to keep us from tearing apart DC. Do you know any happy stories? Hopeful ones? For a moment there, just a moment, I felt better about it all too. The past? I wish I could go back, before I had to mourn, and before all the hope was drained from me. Tell me a happy story. Something to make the world... I liked that one. There's some hope left for you too, you know. Don't give it away too quickly. But faith. The time for faith is long past, my friend. Do you know any happy stories? Hopeful ones? I don't mean to be rude, but civvies don't understand what real tragedy is. Heaven. I've already seen it. It's a little clean for my taste, but since Paul's there, you won't hear me complaining. Oh, come on. That doesn't sound real. Freedom. Not many of us are free from suffering, and, well, war's doing the opposite of stopping that. So anyway, tell me a funny story? You seem like you know a few good ones. You know, the government told us to keep our chins up too, but I didn't believe them either. The future? When I was young, I worried about the future, but now, running all on autopilot and fumes, I've got no control over it, so worry has become me. The night's over soon. I should be leaving. The road takes me this way next. Where's it taking you? I wish there was a road I could take home. Home as I knew it. To my sister Jessie and all of them before the war. But there ain't. It's something I think the road is helping me to understand.
Clouds roll together to fill the sky. The lightning is so strong that it seems to open a path in the haze above you. You are sure you see massive talons curved around the clouds. The thunder is so immense that the ground trembles. Your lips and hands tingle from the electric charge that fills the air until the dancing lightning passes on over the hills.
Scrawl my name on the bare bones of the earth. I'm gonna dig my heels into the ground. 'Cause when that ferryman comes for to tally up my worth, I won't leave much to find that can be found. I'm gonna heft my spade up upon my weary back. I'm gonna keep a lasso.
hear the whippoorwill first, shrill and close. Then you see him, high up above the black streaks of wires. A lineman, fraying belt holding him to the pole. The damned bird has come to perch on a power line, stare hungrily at the man's soul. He's unsteady. His hands are shaky, and his body sways in the wind. You spot his tool bag next to the pole, worn and frayed, much like the man. A half-gone bottle of cheap rye pokes out of it. You leave the man to his work and his vices. The whippoorwill cheers you on. Whatever it's waiting for from the drunkard lineman, it'll eventually get. As you walk away, for a long time, you still hear its cry. Whippoorwill, whippoorwill, whippoorwill.
Gonna cast my stones o'er the waters of this land, and by I'll see them far and long. 'Cause when the
Sorry, friend, but I gotta ask you not to get no closer unless I can see your hands at all times. Look too clean to be one of us. But you don't look like the company sent you neither. Alright, come and share my fire spell. Don't linger. These hills is full of ears. Don't think just 'cause you can't see no one that you're safe. And I'll give you cornbread. Don't be so sure of me neither. Got any funny stories? Must have a couple. You got some wit, stranger. Travel? Well, next time you take a train, take a peek on up at its beating heart. It's black breath. That's just what a mining man looks like inside him. Coal dust, smoke, and fire. Anyway, I need to think about something else. Know any scary stories? Any spooky stuff? Working hard to scare me, ain't you? That's a good one. Traps. Yeah. I tried to help things out. Now more like not, I'm gonna be running forever. Keep thinking I should get mad about it. Maybe there's only so mad a man can be for so long. Sometimes fire follows the line all the way up into the hole and then whoosh, snuffs out. And there's the men with their eyes screwed shut, fingers in their ears, not knowing how to feel about the silence. I need a laugh. Know any good jokes? Oh boy, you watch out now, I'll start chuckling. Trust. Can I trust you? If I asked you how many widows were made when the number 9 fell in, would you know? What year it was when they walked Samuels and his boys down to Big Sandy and done them like criminals? You heard the word of Mother Jones? If you can't answer these, I can't say much. Anyway, I need something to laugh about. Got any funny ones? Well, just seems like wishful thinking to me. The past, I remember looking between my mama's ankles down the road every evening. She'd be whispering. Still don't know if she were counting the workers or praying about them. Got any hopeful stories to tell? I need something like that. Wish that the world were good like that, right? Well, maybe it will be. Dreaming about the future made me a wanted man. For now, I'll be glad just to get over the county line at dawn. Morning. I gotta get going. Headed up that way. Won't be specific. For my safety and yours. If you want to find me, then do it. Talk again about these things. Cole ain't got no country. No worker neither. Worker ain't Virginian, ain't Christian, white, colored, Irish, Polish, nothing. A worker is a worker. And we all gotta work. If you're one of them, if you think I sound red, you best come out and say so. Get it over with.
I come down for to take me hand in hand. This will be my tale, my vagrant song. This will be my tale, my vagrant song.
By nightfall, the hospitality of this sleepy hamlet, combined with their superstitious tales, has both overstuffed your stomach and filled. In the moonlight, every valley and hollow at the feet of the Tappan Zee seems like a stolen shred of the abyss itself. Fireside tales seem less fanciful, and every cackling crow and moaning whippoorwill seems like a demon perched on the shivering, spindly trees. But something cuts through the noise. The muffled sound of hooves galloping on the cold, muddy road. When he finally slows his horse alongside you, it's as though he had just appeared out of the mist. He's astride a gigantic black courser, and though his boots are muddy and ragged, he wears an immaculate coat with great, shining buttons. From his saddle hangs an antiquated flintlock and a cavalry saber. In the darkness, you can hardly see above his towering shoulders. His voice is a rumbling croak, deep, but as though his throat is filled with thorns. Have you happened upon a cannonball around here? You mumble an apology and watch as he silently rides away, back into the mist. He's cloaked in black, you notice from behind, but the blood running down over his shoulders glints crimson in the moonlight.
gonna scrawl my name on the bare bones of the earth. I'm gonna dig in my heels.
We need a sixth.
She told you, beckoning from the steps of a great dark mansion. And just like that, you found yourself sitting with strangers around a velvet-draped table. Her voice is reedy and high, modulated by the tight collar of her Victorian dress.
Join hands, everyone.
Your host keeps her eyes closed as she beseeches the spirits of the dead. But everyone else around the table lets one lingering, awkward glance bounce around between them. You sense they're just about done humoring her when it happens. A deep, nasty thump beneath the table. The whole table starts to shake, threatening to lift right off the ground. And then, the staid candle flames start flickering like mad, casting ghastly shadows on the walls. And then, a viciously cold wind cuts through the parlor like sharpened ice. The damned candles are dancing in mid-air around you now, singeing a hair here and there off the coiffed heads of these well-heeled guests. You notice your host across the table has her eyes open wider than they should go, a rivulet of blood dripping from her nose. When you come to your senses, sunrise has begun to creep in. The parlor is empty but for you and the woman in the old-fashioned dress, who slumped dejectedly over the table.
He didn't show up. All that sound and fury, and no sign of his spirit.
I'm down for to take me hand in hand. This will be my tale, my vagrant song. Yeah, this will be my tale, my vagrant song.
A sign in town says a farmer is hiring for the sugarcane harvest. A bag-eyed man drives you and 10 hungry strangers out into the cane, where he leaves you. Everyone gets a hatchet, but no instruction. The foreman is missing for some reason. Nobody is sure what to do. A young man in a red jacket stuffs all the hatchets in his pack. "This is stupid," he says. "I'm leaving. You can get $5 for a nice axe like this." He marches off into the cane and others follow. "Don't!" a young woman shouts after them. "It's not right." The thief left some hatchets behind, so you and the 3 chumps left start chopping cane. It's brutal work. None of you know what you're doing. "Keep going," the girl calls. Her hands are bleeding, and her face is bright with sweat. Soon, her cane is piled high. Sometime after noon, the truck rolls up with a boozy foreman riding shotgun. "Good work," he croaks. The girl wipes her blood-pinked hands on her apron to take her pay, but doesn't notice the crumpled body in the back of the truck, or the hatchets heaped beside it.
Eyes like rolling dice and easy bargains on his breath. He said you don't need that pain, child, but how about something you can use? You ain't gonna want for nothing when you get that soul sucker blues. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
shotgun houses sit in rows under the tall shadows of smokestacks. A worker in full uniform hollers from a porch. "Hey, traveler! Throw me inside! Got some literature here!" As you shut the door, the man glances out the window and draws the shades. "Landlord toss you out? Ha! Don't mind me, it's none of my business." He pries up a floorboard with a crowbar. You glance over the man's shoulder to see inside the compartment canned goods, a pile of leaflets, the wood stock of a rifle. He replaces the board and stands. He hands you a can of whole potatoes, then a leaflet which reads, "No evictions, no fascists, no hunger." "Headed back to the shop, but we'll have a Bible meet soon." Nothing wrong with that. Careful in those boxcars, traveler, and take care of your neighbor."
Going down to the river, gonna cleanse my soul. Going down to the river, gonna cleanse my soul. That current gonna take firm hold of me. That water gonna.
No fence, gate, or sign marks the entrance to the cemetery. Just a moment ago, you weren't surrounded by graves, and now you are. How long have you been stepping on dead folks, fully unaware? A wood board, bleached white. Unknown. The word was painted on black by a steady hand, each letter signed with a flourish. Whoever made this memorial had more compassion than money. The other graves are the same. Unknown. 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 Handwritten, nondescript. You walk for a while, reading every marker in sight, and not once do you find a name.
When they try to throw a wall up, we gon' tear it down. Yeah, they try to throw a wall up, we gon' tear it down. We gonna drive the hurting hearted out with a wild and righteous sound. When they try to throw a wall up, we gonna tear it down. Yeah, when they try to throw a wall up, we gonna tear it down.
His smile lights up the room, or rather the cab of the locomotive. Folks gather round as he holds the pull cord. He's a showman through and through. You'll want to cover your ears now for this next part. Sure doesn't help much. Engineer pulls that chain and the whistle blasts inside your skull. He just smiles through it all. Man must be half deaf. A round of applause erupts from the small crowd. He passes out bubble gum to the shell-shocked kids, half of them in awe, half in tears. Remember now who gets you there on the advertised. Casey Jones. Everyone's all talk as they head back to their seats. That engineer sure is handsome. Gosh, and that whistle sounded just like a whippoorwill, didn't it? Ain't this the way to travel? He's small for his age. Boy of 13 or so, sitting on an upturned bucket by the side of a tiny wedge of farmland. The dog, as though by contrast, is massive, an enormous yellow-brown mutt. He's called Rover, the boy explains.
Paul says he can't come with us. West.
You notice the Model A truck on the yard, piled high with furnishings and trunks and bags and knots of rope to tie it all together. And upon all that, too, yet more dust and grit.
Paul says it has to be better.
With one toe tip, he scratches a parabola on the dead, dry ground.
Paul says we can't afford to feed Rover no more.
You can't tell where the blonde of the dog's coat ends and the omnipresent dust begins. Same goes for the boy's hair.
Will you take him?
Rover follows you eagerly after you feed him the tiniest sliver of jerky. But a few hours later, he snaps to attention, as though hearing some distant noise your ears can't catch. The last you see of him are the markings left by his dirty pelt on the leaves of the underbrush.
My weary back, I'm gonna keep lacerates tucked in my soul.
Evening there. You looking for a sermon or just a chat? Don't really matter, frankly. First thing I ever learned behind the pulpit is that every homily is just a conversation. Ain't as one-sided as you might think either. Preachers ain't shepherds, they're cowboys. They gotta run with the flock, keep them directed without fencing them in. So how about you take a seat and guide us somewhere? You must have seen some pretty wild stuff on the road. What's the most exciting thing you've seen? You've got a pretty wild life, you know that? Authority? People look to me for leadership. But I tell them that real leadership comes from community. The best preachers are cornerstones, not prophets. Lately, my journey's been pretty ordinary, just walking church to church. What about you? Been on any adventures? I swear I ain't heard a story good as that in a long minute. Home? Never had a home. Not the way y'all talk about it anyway. Pops and I had a little trailer for the summer he was wrestling in Atlanta, but otherwise, it was a new floor every week. You must have seen some pretty wild stuff on the road. What's the most exciting thing you've seen? Huh, that one's trying to be scary, right? Don't work on me, I guess. Death? Well, Ma died a few years after I was born. Pops used to tell me she was beautiful and that I had her eyes and her sense of conscience, but he always said it like it was an insult. Lately, my journey's been pretty ordinary, just walking church to church. What about you? Been on any adventures? I swear I ain't heard a story good as that in a long minute. Travel? Oh, I travel. Moving's in my blood. Pops traveled all over to wrestle. And even after I stepped out on my own, I kept moving. I've been everywhere. Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles. Paris. I even been to Paris. I've been everywhere. Chicago, New York, Atlanta. Hey, you have any spooky campfire tales? Feels appropriate out here, right? Oh, you got me for a second with that one. Sadness? No. Preacher ain't allowed to be sad, except for a certain sort of sadness. You understand? We have to be salve. We have to lift up the community, challenge injustice. Folks like me can't be sad for ourselves when it's the congregation that really hurts. Well, I gotta get moving on. I have a sermon to give in the morning, and the church is a long night of walking that way. Walk like you're blessed, child, because even if you ain't, that's the only way you'll find your holy self.
Cause when my coals burn low and my trains run out of track, won't be no one else to dig my hole. Well, I got no companion except the wind and the sea. And when I'm cold and empty, they're the ones who'll bury me. Well, I'm gonna catch
Excusez-moi.
Beckoning you over, the woman shows you a letter, beautifully typeset on thick vellum. You're struck by the scent of a fancy department store. She points on the parchment to the address.
This address.
You know? Her accent is very thick. You are dismayed to read the first paragraph. Lorem ipsum dolor sit amet, and the address under the monogram in the letterhead. 12345 Road Street, Anytown, USA. The woman blinks, hopefully, leaning close over your shoulder.
Yes? You know this place?
She asks. Poor woman. She's been tricked. This place doesn't exist, you try to explain as loud and slowly as possible.
Of course she exists.
The woman snorts, thumping a fist to her chest. You struggle to make yourself understood, but the poor woman whisks the letter away and stomps down the street. Ah well, c'est la vie.
Well, I'm gonna scroll my name on the bare bones of the earth. I'm gonna dig my heels into the ground. 'Cause when that ferryman comes for to tally up my worth, I won't leave much to find that can be found. Well, I'm gonna heft my spade up upon my weary back. I'm gonna keep lacerates tucked in my soul. 'Cause when my coals burn low and my trains run out of track, won't be no one else to dig my hole. Well, I got no companion except the wind and the sea. And when I'm cold and empty, they're the ones who'll bury me. Well, I'm gonna cast my stones o'er the waters of this land, and by I'll see them far and long. When the night come down for to take me hand in hand, this will be my tale, my vagrant song. Yeah, this will be my tale, my vagrant